In today's video, we're going to be having a look at the Kotobukiya Horror Bishoujo. This is the Freddy vs. Jason Voorhees 2nd edition statue. Now, before we have a look at the statue itself, let's see exactly how tall it is. If you technically count from the shoes up, the figure statue stands close to about 9 inches tall. Factoring in the display stand that the figure includes, it's still about 9 inches tall, so it's not really all that much different with the additional stand included. Speaking of stand, the statue does come with a green display stand, kind of mimicking, I suppose, water or the swamp area from Camp Crystal Lake. It's not really much to be said for it, although I do appreciate the fact, once again, it's a Kotobukiya piece, it's magnetized. So you just simply take your statue, attach it to the base, and it's not going anywhere. This allows for a little bit of creativity when it comes to the way that you display the figure. I mean, it doesn't really give you the largest of bases anyways, but you can certainly still angle it if you so wish, or you can have the figure's feet planted very, straight across the two areas of the base. There's your magnets on the undersides of the feet, but again, loving the fact that it's magnetized. The statue comes with 2 accessories, both of which I've already installed, and I have to say, some of the more difficult of accessories to be added to the figure. The figure doesn't have any give whatsoever. In the hands, in either of the hands, there's very, very little wiggle room that you can actually get both the axe and the machete placed into her hands. The machete was just simply a case of finding out which angle I had to tilt it, and it slid actually fairly easy once I figured out the angle. Again, if I just move it over here, it doesn't give much clearance. Keeping in mind, those figures are not going to be able to bend for you to slide the machete handle through. So it's just a matter of getting that proper angle in there, right, to get the machete in place. The axe, on the other hand, literally on the other hand, is a much more trickier feat to accomplish. I found it was actually easier to take the more narrow end of the handle and just kind of slightly angle it in, and then kind of spoon feed it slowly underneath those 4 fingers. Then when I eventually got it the right placement, I then just adjusted the axe and slid it in just enough to fit it to where I want to have it. I can't stress this enough though, with this particular statue, this is probably not something that you're going to want to be adding the accessories, the weapons, and removing them on a frequent basis. If you see yourself ever packing this away, leave the weapons off. If you do put the weapons in, I would not probably, again, want to try to take those back out for fear that it could damage the hands, especially putting them back in again. The statue's outfit depicts, well, not quite a Jason outfit, but more kind of Jason inspired. That's basically where a lot of these Horror Bishoujo figures kind of sit, kind of live. They don't live really quite in the vein of looking exactly like it, but kind of more inspired by it. It's certainly not something that you would ever see Jason Voorhees wearing. If it was, it would be something I would not probably want to see him wearing. But he has all, or she has, therefore, all the cues that kind of represent Jason Voorhees if you were to take it and put it on a female character. The Chucky is a little bit more specific, I think, to the costume, looking very close to Chucky. This, I think, is, again, a more inspired by costume. Not really looking like something that Jason would wear. I mean, about the closest thing you can think of is that Jason in Freddy vs. Jason did wear like a jacket. From that standpoint, it does somewhat resemble Jason, but again, it's more inspired by than anything else. Having a look at the face sculpt, it's very pretty, but again, does it really look like something that would be a Jason-themed female character? The answer I would give is actually no. While they've done a good job of incorporating a full hockey mask to which she's kind of got to the side of her face, it looks more awkward, in all honesty, than anything else. Like, looking at it, it's beautifully sculpted, but I can't help but question, like, why the mask is so tilted to the side. I get that they wanted to show her full face, but having the hockey mask to the side seems almost like an afterthought. Like, they didn't really quite know where exactly they wanted to put the hockey mask. A couple of things that they could have done was they could have had the hockey mask more to the front and slightly tipped up. Jason's done this as well in Friday the 13th Part 3, where he comes off the noose and the hockey mask is up here, he slides it down. You could have actually had the hockey mask facing more forward and slightly arched up, as if she's tilted the hockey mask up. This doesn't seem like a real natural progression for if she was moving the hockey mask out of the way. I don't think she would want to move it to the side and slightly on an angle. She probably would just want to lift the hockey mask up, and it should, I think it should have actually been a little bit more on the top of her head rather than the side. If the only reason why that they didn't want to have the hockey mask on top of her head was to incorporate this little bunching of hair at the top, I don't know if I would say that that would have been worth enough not to have the hockey mask still not on top here. They could have also had a couple of hairs peeking out through the holes of the hockey mask if the hockey mask was actually on the top rather than the side. Another option that they could have also done too is had the hockey mask, and I've said hockey mask a lot in this video, having it actually on her face, but have it cracked so only half of it was actually intact. Maybe have one side, kind of like a Phantom of the Opera. This is such pretty hair on the one side. Maybe they could have had the hockey mask cracked and only on this side of her face, kind of like a Phantom of the Opera sort of design, and still kept a very feminine side on the other. Either way though, it is still a beautiful looking head sculpt. You can, again, if I just tilt the statue slightly on an angle, you can see where the other eye is underneath there. About the only thing I would say I really don't like, in all honesty, is where they've put the mask. If they had found another place, I think it still could have been successful. It just seems strange that they would have put it over there. Her skin tone is very pale, as you can probably see from head down to, well, about down to the last area where you see flesh is down by her ankle there. But she's a very pale looking character. She's got some nice shading there in the chest area, where you can see it's kind of a teal color, and they've added some darker shading around in the wrinkled and arid creases of the shirt. Of course, one of the big draws for me on this particular statue is the jacket. I think the jacket looks really good. I like how it's got a slight blowing back effect, and you can see how it's extremely frayed around the edges of the jacket as well. They've added a little bit of shading, a little bit of that darker brown in there as well, so that much like the top, you've got the little creased and wrinkled area, recessed areas of the jacket getting a good full bit of attention. I love the folds that they've got on the sleeve portion of the arms. Really, this figure from a fabric and costume standpoint is absolutely gorgeous. The jeans, it looks like they're jeans, and then they've just been shredded in the middle. They almost kind of come across more like now chaps than they do actually jeans. Or pants. I guess they would look like pants as well. But really, even here, where you see, like, it looks like the way that they've sculpted it, that the pants are extremely tight, stretching themselves around her thighs. You got some rips on the knee areas and rips on the thigh area, coming right down to a pair of almost military kind of, or hiking boots, I suppose. One touch that I do like is that she's got these little gashes and slashes on her, not only on her chest area, but also down by her leg, which fits perfectly if you happen to have lucked out and picked up the Freddy Krueger Bishoujo as well. You can put the two side by side, and it looks like, you know, she's got the little scratches and stuff from Freddy's claw. Got a little bit of blood there going on the machete, which is a nice touch. Actually didn't really spend a lot of time on the weapons themselves. I do like how the machete has a scratched silver outer frame to it. It's kind of painted around the outside here in silver. And then you've got a very nice dolloping of dark red for the blood here. The axe doesn't have anything really in the way of blood, but it still has just as much the attention that the machete had, where you've got the silver that's been kind of painted just on the very edge of the blade here. The wood, if you can call it that, I mean, it does sort of look like wood, but I mean, they've kept it very, very simple here on the handle. At least, if anything, the blades of the machete and the blade of the axe really have spent a lot of time with getting some additional paint going there. The Kotobukiya horror Bishoujo Jason Voorhees from Freddy vs. Jason is a statue I've always wanted in my collection. And unfortunately, if you've ever gone on to the aftermarkets like eBay and whatnot to try to get the original release, the first version release of this statue, it's extremely expensive, sometimes in the several hundreds of dollars. Luckily, the folks over at Kotobukiya released a second release. And not owning the first release, I can't really tell you whether the first or second release have any distinct differences between them. I would think it's probably an exact carbon copy to the first version, as it probably wasn't very much that was changed here on the second. Overall, just a beautiful looking statue. About the only thing I would say I would have changed to it is maybe the placement of where the hockey mask goes. It seems like it just seems awkward where they've placed it, as if at the last minute they tried to find a place just simply where they could put the hockey mask that threw in the fact that, yes, this was Jason Voorhees. The statue is beautiful, the sculpt is great. The accessories, the weapons are a little difficult to get into her hands, so I wouldn't entertain the idea of trying to do that too often. But overall, if you're a fan of Jason Voorhees and Kotobukiya, this is a match made in heaven, as we've got ourselves another horror Bishoujo here with Jason Voorhees. If you are interested in picking this up for yourself, it's as easy as heading over to BigBadToyStore.com, as they currently have not only this one, but also the Freddy Krueger that we're going to be looking at in another video. And actually, both of those I did pick up from Big Bad Toy Store. So I'll put the link down below, so if you guys are interested in picking this up for yourself, highly would recommend this. My favorites so far have been the Chucky. Didn't really like the Tiffany all that much, or if anything, if I had to choose one, I would choose really only the Chucky, and I may have passed on the Tiffany altogether. The Jason looks splendid, gorgeous looking statue, and I'm very excited to open up and have a look at the Freddy Krueger as well. Speaking of which, if you haven't had a chance yet to subscribe to this channel, what are you waiting for? Hit that little subscribe button down below. You won't miss a beat when it comes to future videos. And of course, stay tuned. In the next video, we're going to have a look at the Kotobukiya horror Bishoujo version of the Freddy vs. Jason Freddy Krueger. So there's lots more heading your way. As always, guys, thanks for watching as you always do. I'll see you next time.